Hello, I'm the Arizona Silverback, and today we're going to answer your questions. Let's begin. So I'm the Arizona Silverback, and let's answer the first question. So this one's by Jason Cronin. So I've noticed that while rolling, people are hyper aware of the things we just drilled. Any advice on landing things that have been recently drilled in class? On Monday we drilled scissor sweep, and I tried to hit this one during our roll, and he dropped his hips and I missed it, and he made some comment about it. In good spirit, thanks. Okay, so that's the best time because you know for sure if you actually hit it, then you did everything right. So what I do now as an upper belt is I tell people what move I'm going to do to them. So I'll tell them, I'll be like, hey, I'm going to hit you with this move and this move, maybe a Kimura and like a triangle. So now they're watching and waiting for those moves to come. And I have to be a little more crafty about my setups, but I definitely, it's more of a challenge. What I would say is that if you're going to try to hit a move and continue a move, do it for a month at a time. So have the move and try it. I usually wait 2 weeks. So if I work a move that day, I spend 2 weeks kind of drilling it, and then that 2 weeks later, I take a week to implement it, so that I not fresh in everybody's mind. I've had enough time to drill it with a partner, maybe open mats or at home, and then now I'm going to be trying to hit it. But that is just a piece of advice. You can also go for it, but when you're learning something brand new, and it's the first time you drill this, so let's say you just learned the scissor sweep for the first time you've ever seen it, it's going to take time to kind of master. So the odds of you hitting it the first day are very low, but after training and drilling it out for about a month, you should be good to go, especially when everybody forgets about it. This question comes from Joe Lyle. What are your thoughts on preparation for competitions? Are there any specific techniques that will work better or will get you out of trouble? Love the videos as always. Well, Joe, here's the thing is, in a competition sport, the thing that's going to work the best is usually practice the most. All right, so hear me out. For instance, when I boxed, every gym I ever went to always worked the jab. Why did every gym work the jab? Because it's a high efficiency move. It's also what we call a basics. So if you want to be good in competition, I'd hyper focus on the basics. Those are what are going to win your matches. That's what can get you out of trouble. Having good fundamentals or the good basics, a good base, you're going to be hard to touch. I don't really fear a guy who has flashy moves because I'll out basic him. I fear a guy who is very good at the basics, who's practiced it for 10, 15, 20 years, and his movements are flawless. He's refined the movement to a point to where it's a science and it's hard to keep up with. So he'll be like a hip escape. He's hip escaping and it's hard to stop because it's such minute movements that my timing has to be precise in order to slow him down or stop him. I have to be constantly adapting to what he has been practicing for years and years. So if I were to say you're prepping for a competition, I would say hyper focus on the basics, and also make sure that you practice those live too. So like for me, I'll drill like a madman, the hip escape, a lot of sweep, like just a basic sweep and guard retention, because they work. And how you know something works well is it's worked at every single school. So if you talk to anybody, they know what a hip escape is, or an ebby, or a shrimp, whatever you want to call it. But that's what I would focus on, the basics and cardio. If your cardio is bad, then there's nothing in the world can compensate for good cardio. Good cardio will get you through an entire match and then some, and it'll help you with your mental side of this too, because competing requires a little bit of mental fortitude, and that happens through pushing yourself in cardio. Good question. This last question is from a guy named Fu Passon. You read it. How should I be breaking down my competition footage? I've competed twice and have plenty of film, but when I watch it, I see myself doing everything wrong, so I don't really know what to focus on. Man, another good question. Okay, so breaking down your own comp film is kind of a hard thing to do, and the reason is you're going to hyper focus on all your either insecurities or the things you're bad at. All right, it's kind of like taking a picture of yourself. Somebody will see you as a whole, but you'll break it down into things you don't like about yourself, whether it be your size, what's big or small, your height, tall or short, if you don't like a freckle on your face, or your nose is too big, or whatever it is that you don't like about yourself, you tend to hyper focus on. So watching a video like that from a different perspective, or from your own perspective, could definitely make it difficult, because you're gonna easily see everything that you're doing wrong. for your videos, what I would do is I'd make a list as you're watching of every move that you tried to hit and your setup. So like if you were going and all of a sudden you pull guard but is a real bad guard pull, you can easily spot that. You know if the positioning right is wrong, especially if you know the move. You're trying moves that you know and not just guessing in competition. And then I would analyze the moves and less about the roll. The problem with the roll, is, especially in competition, is it's so dynamic. There's so much going on. You can't really, some of what you're now relying on instinctual movements. And then we need to fix those instinctual movements. So if your hand is going to the wrong spot, let's say when he pulled guard and both your hands went to the floor instead of to his belly, we know immediately where to practice. I'm not going to focus on all of a sudden you're there and then he's trying to sweep you and you're just maintaining, or you guys are scrambling and you're breaking grips. I want to know what's your first instinctive movement. All of a sudden you try to break his guard. Are you just going elbows to the inside? Are you going both hands to belt, or one hand to knee and belt? Like these are things that I can see and you can see, and then we can break it down from there. What move are you going for? Why did it work or why didn't it work? And then you could build from there. But if you just look at it and try to just watch it to see how good you did, that's going to make it difficult because, again, we're our worst critics. Everybody is, unless you're narcissistic and you just love everything about yourself, which is cool too. But you need to just focus on that. Now, I'd also say break down your opponent too. I would look at what the things he's doing right and the things he's doing wrong. And then in there, I'd compare, like, how come he beat you? If you know everything he did right, it's pretty easy to see where you made your mistakes. Well, anyway, that's the final question. If you guys have any more, leave them down below. I love answering questions. It's one of my favorite things to do. I read everything. And as always, the more you know. We'll see you next time.